An often forgotten era of Lakers history was the small window of time between Magic Johnson's retirement and the Shaq and Kobe acquisitions. By their standards, the mid-90s was a rough and drama-filled era for the purple and gold. But at the very least, you'd be wrong if you assumed that they were never competitive. Players like Eldon Campbell, Cedric Ceballos, and Eddie Jones were some of the major names on the roster during that time. But one other guy was especially the life of the party, and was the closest thing to Showtime that the Lakers had without Magic Johnson. Unfortunately, his career would go on to be utterly derailed because of one very stupid thing he would say at a crucial part of an NBA season. I'm talking about the 6'1" point guard, Nick the Quick Van Exel. To put it simply, Van Exel was a walking, breathing highlight. The best way I could describe him is picture a smaller Jamal Crawford, but as a much better passer. In a similar fashion, Van Exel had a filthy handle of the basketball, as he consistently made defenders look foolish with his killer crossover and misdirection. He was a solid three-point shooter and a reliable floor general. Not much was expected of Van Exel when he originally came to the NBA. He was drafted by the Lakers in the second round of the 1993 NBA draft. With that being said, it wouldn't take very long for the league to see what he was capable of, as he displayed his exceptional skills on the court, and averaged nearly 14 points and 6 assists in his rookie season in the NBA. The very next season, his game would take a massive leap forward, as he increased his scoring to 17 points per game and his assists to 8.3 per contest, as he established himself as a respectable dual threat. Those weren't the only things about his game that was noteworthy though. Van Exel had the skills to create his own shot at will, and over time, he became known as one of the best clutch shot makers that the league had to offer. It didn't matter if he was double teamed, off balance, or 40 feet away. If Van Exel was shooting the final shot, there was a very good chance that it was going in. Not everything was sunshine and rainbows during his time with the Lakers though. During Magic Johnson's brief return in the 95-96 season, a lack of chemistry became a major issue for this squad, as Van Exel was frustrated that he had to relinquish some of his orchestrating responsibilities to Magic. Van Exel also had problems with authority, but especially in the case of dealing with the Lakers head coach, Del Harris. He didn't respect Harris and often ignored his coach's requests. It had reached such a boiling point that the two nearly got into a fight during a team practice, where the other players had to step in and physically intervene. Speaking of which, Van Exel was also known to have a temper, and his explosive attitude often got the best of him on the basketball court, as he was often at the center of any altercation and was suspended quite frequently as a result. He wasn't quite on Dennis Rodman's level of dramatic locker room distractions, but in the 1990s, Nick was about as close as it got. Still, his talent on the court could not be denied, and after the Lakers had acquired a prime Shaquille O'Neal and a young Kobe Bryant, it appeared as if he would have an opportunity to be the leading floor general on a championship team. In the 97-98 season, at the age of 26, Van Exel was selected to his first All-Star game, alongside of his fellow stars of Shaq, Kobe, and Eddie Jones, making them one of the few teams in NBA history to have 4 All-Stars on the roster simultaneously. This incredibly talented group went 61-21 throughout the regular season, and had many people believing that they were the favorites to represent the West in the NBA Finals. Unfortunately, for the second straight season, they ran into the Utah Jazz, this time in the Western Conference Finals. They had no answers for the pick and roll of Stockton and Malone, while Utah's defense did a fantastic job of limiting the Lakers' perimeter weapons. The Lakers quickly fell behind in the series 3-0. As a result, the lack of energy in the Lakers' locker room was borderline depressing. In order for them to win the series and advance to the NBA Finals, they would have to do something that no team has ever done before in league history, and that's come back from an 0-3 deficit. Sure, none of the Lakers players were feeling particularly confident in that moment, but at the very least, none of them had flat out quit and accepted defeat. Well, that was until the last team practice before Game 4. At the end of that practice session, the players huddled up, put their hands in the middle, and in unison said 1, 2, 3, team, which is what they had done throughout that entire season. The thing is, that's not what Van Exel said. Instead, this was the moment where his lack of maturity dealt its most brutal consequences. This was the moment where Van Exel made a decision that would not only ruin his NBA career, but it would result in him largely being forgotten in the city of Los Angeles. Instead of 1, 2, 3, team, in a jokingly manner, Nick said 1, 2, 3, Cancun, implying that the Lakers were on their way to a vacation in Cancun after they would get eliminated in Game 4. According to Jeff Pearlman's book 3 Ring Circus, the gym went dead quiet. Kobe Bryant looked at his teammate as if he had just spoiled milk. Rick Fox was equally disgusted, whispering, "Can you believe this?" to O'Neal. Even Eddie Jones, Van Exel's friend, was taken aback. "What the hell was that about?" he asked. O'Neal went directly to General Manager Jerry West's office to tell him about the incident, to which the veteran executive said bluntly, "After all of this ends, Nick is done here." Things then proceeded to go exactly how you'd expect. The Lakers were eliminated in Game 4, and Nick Van Exel was promptly traded away from the team.
And then, of course, we got Shaq and Kobe, and, it went to a whole different level. And then they traded my ass.
How devastated were you?
I was not devastated.
You were not?
It was time to go.
Okay.
Well, let me change it. I was upset because of the location they sent me.
Denver?
I wanted to leave, but at the time, Denver was one of the worst teams in the NBA. So Jerry West was like, "Okay, I'm going to stick it to your little ass." And he did.
Now, as Van Exel alluded to, he wasn't just traded away from the Lakers, but he was purposely punished by Jerry West, as he was sent to the Denver Nuggets, who were the worst team in the entire league, and who had just wrapped up their season with an 11-71 record. Over those next few seasons in Denver, Van Exel would have his best season statistically, getting as high as 19 points per game and 9 assists per game. But naturally, no one cared, because the team was utter garbage. And simultaneously, he had to watch his former Lakers go on to be a dynasty, as they won 3 straight championships. Now into his 30s, Van Exel was moved to a reserve role off the bench, as he became a journeyman, playing 2 seasons in Dallas, 1 season in Golden State, 1 season for Portland, and 1 season for San Antonio. Just think about how crazy all of this was for a second. At the time Van Exel made the Cancun joke in 1998, Shaq was 26 years old and was just starting to reach his prime. Kobe Bryant was 19 years old and was on the verge of becoming a superstar. The Lakers were on the cusp of consistent championship success, but all because of one horrifically timed joke, the Lakers were willing to trade away their all-star floor general to the worst team in the entire league. And tragically, his career would never recover as a result. In an alternate universe, Van Exel shuts his mouth, doesn't get traded away, and goes on to win multiple championships with Shaq and Kobe's Lakers, and gets immortalized fondly in Lakers lore. But in our reality, because of his poor decision making, he's the kind of guy that I have to remind people that he once existed in the NBA. So what do you guys think? Is there an example of a player making a worse mistake than Van Exel's joke in 1998? I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comment section below. Shout out to all the members for supporting the channel. Thanks for watching as always. Make sure to like and subscribe for more basketball content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.